Hi there, welcome to kneppyinvests. Time for another The Breakout video. And in this series, and this is the second video I've done in this series, what I'm going to do is focus on companies whose share price is breaking out or has already broken out or looks like it might break out in the near future. And there is only one thing I look at when it comes to a share price breaking out, and that is the chart. I'm not going to focus on the financials. I'm not going to focus on anything else apart from the chart. And it does seem to me, and this is me not doing any research, this is just me looking at my own not my history, but what I've noticed on the stock market is that the share price usually leads good financial news. I've seen this now a few times with companies, South 32, Oz Forex Group. The share price started to move up in an uptrend well before the company came out with some really good financial news. And actually, on the flip side, we sometimes and a lot of times see this. The share price will start to move down, move into a downtrend before the company releases some bad financial news. So it does seem like it is quite prudent to look at what the market is telling us. And that's what I'm doing, looking for breakouts in share prices. And MMA Offshore share price has definitely broken out in the past month, even though when they released the half-year report, the financial numbers were not that great. They did see an increase in revenue, but EBITDA actually had fallen. But when you focused on the commentary in the half-year report, it does tell you a different story. The management is a little bit more bullish, and that's really important. So what I'm going to do in this video, in fact, towards the end, I'm going to compare MMA Offshore's half-yearly from this year and compare it to last year, and you'll be able to see the different tone in the management. They're a little bit more optimistic right now than they were 1 year ago. So in this video, I'm going to look at the charts, why or how determined the share price of this company has broken out, and then also going to look at those half-year reports. I'm going to look at no financial numbers at all with MMA Offshore, so I'm really only going to focus on the chart and financial commentary. I'm going to show you two charts for MMA Offshore. The first one is the weekly chart that goes all the way back to 2016. And to be fair with you, this company has not been a very good wealth creator for its shareholders during this period, particularly from 2016 to about 2021. Share price has been falling. There was a period here between 2017 and 2020 when it looked like it was trying to base out. There was a nice little support level at around about 80 cents or just below 85 cents. So it touched that level about 2 times, and then it broke through that support level during the COVID-19 financial panic. The share price moved from that 85-cent range all the way down to 25 cents. But it has found support at that level, and the share price has been moving sideways over the past few years. And I am looking for this pattern quite often in a lot of companies, looking for a consolidation period, particularly a long consolidation period after share price of a company has fallen a lot. And that's definitely true for MMA Offshore. But if you look at the last few months, the share price has been taking off on increasing volume. That's the other thing I'm looking for, is increasing volume. Is the market becoming excited about the company and the future of the company? And if the market is, that's when you start to see fund managers start buying into the company and the share price starting to increase on increasing volume. You can see that on the weekly chart, but you can definitely see that when we look at the daily chart. So let's have a look at that right now. This is the daily chart going back almost exactly 1 year ago. So this is February, March 2021. And we did see a little bit of a breakout in the share price in June of last year. As you can see, one day where there was high volume, and that's when the share price increased from around 32.5 cents to about 38, 39 cents. Now, that breakout did not succeed because the share price just went sideways. And one thing I am focusing on here is the moving averages and just the volatility or general volatility in the share price. And you can just see there is a little bit of volatility from June last year to the end of December, the share price going sideways, but we can see the share price trading between about 34 cents and 48 cents. But towards the end of January into the start of February, that's when we started to see some higher volume come in on a consistent basis, no volume peaks like we saw in June last year. And the share price started to move up towards a support area, actually resistance area. And that resistance area was the previous high we saw in October last year, right on 47.5 cents. And then on really good volume, the share price pulled through that resistance level. So that resistance level then became a support. Tested it about 3 weeks later. In fact, on one day, it actually fell through that support level, but that's not confirmation that the support level has failed. And then because it tested it and the test actually succeeded in terms of it didn't fail and share price kept on falling, the share price then took off. In fact, it took off from about 47.5 cents, the level of the support, to a current share price of 62 cents. So the share price of MMA Offshore has definitely taken off, has definitely moved into an uptrend, definite positive sentiment behind this company. Really good volume the last few months as well. No, as I mentioned before, no real big volume spikes, but it's consistent good volume day after day. Particularly on the up days, that's where we have seen the highest volume. So there is definitely someone out there, potentially fund managers, who are buying into MMA Offshore. Now, because the share price has really increased over the past few weeks, it'd be really healthy just to see a little bit of a pullback, maybe towards about 52.5 to 55 cents. That would be a nice range to see the share price pull back. Better yet, share price just goes sideways for a while, maybe a flag or pennant. That will be quite positive as well. So I'm fairly bullish about the future of MMA Offshore just by looking at the chart. But there's another reason I'm bullish about MMA Offshore, and that's just some of the financial commentary we saw in the half yearly released in February. Before we get to that financial commentary, so one of the things I'm doing right now is, instead of looking at what a company does first, then having a look at their financials, and then the chart, I've just flipped it. So the first thing I will look at now is the chart. If I see a company breaking out, then I actually look at what they do if I don't know what they do, and then I might have a look at their financial state. So I've just changed subtly what I'm doing, and this is working really well for me right now. I'm finding companies I would have never invested in the past, and a lot of these companies that I would not have invested in the past have done really well in my portfolio, including Osforex, South32, BlueScope Steel, even Fortescue a few years ago. I used this technique when I bought them, and if I just held on, I would have had a 7-bagger. So MMA Offshore specializes in providing high specification vessels. Again, they provide ships for marine and subsea services to the offshore energy sector and wider maritime industries. I've always known MMA Offshore as Mermaid Marine, and I've always known this company as sort of a mining services company for the oil and gas, providing ships for those offshore marine oil rigs, that sort of thing. So that's always how I've thought about this company. But it looks like they might have diversified in what they do over the past 5 years, maybe 5 to 10 years. And I think one of the reasons behind that was just the significant decrease in mining expenditure that a lot of mining companies have done. So a lot of the ships that MMA Offshore actually bought were not being utilized, and so they really had to diversify. So that's why they've gone into these other areas. Now, that's might not be true. Maybe they already had gone into these other areas 5 or 10 years ago, but it seems like they are focusing on these other areas as well. Now to the half-year commentary, which I found interesting. And what I'm going to do is compare 2021 to 2022. And what I'm looking for here is just the mood or overall sentiment in the management. You can sort of determine that just by the commentary, and that's really important. In fact, I think this is the most important thing to figure out when you read a half-yearly or yearly report, is just determine the sentiment in the management of the company. So if you go back 1 year ago, they do mention a lot of uncertainty here, a lot of headwinds. So our operating performance in the first half was in line with expectations, which actually is good. However, uncertainty around COVID-19 continues to impact markets. Oil and gas production support activities remain steady. Smaller project scopes are beginning to return to market, while exploration remains subdued. it's a very important word, subdued. Previously deferred key oil and gas projects in Australia now being rescheduled for final investment decision this year. Tendering activities for renewables in Taiwan continues to strengthen with further support building for offshore wind developments in our region. So a fairly, I won't say negative sentiment here, but fairly neutral, I would say, definitely not positive. So this was 1 year ago. And really, the share price of MMA Offshore had not taken off at this point, but it had started to consolidate at this point in time. So let's have a look at the most recent half yearly just to see if the sentiment in the management had shifted to positive. And the most important thing here is just looking at little words, little keys, little signals the management is giving us. So let's have a look at a bit of commentary here from the half year report released on the 24th of February 2022. The outlook for activity in our key markets of oil and gas, renewables, and government services is looking positive. So straight away, they're saying they are positive. With recovery in oil and gas investment projected, together with unprecedented growth in new offshore wind developments, MA is well positioned to benefit from an improvement in market conditions. Our operating performance for the first half was in line with expectations, just like last year. At this stage, we are forecasting an increase in EBITDA for the second half, with a little bit of uncertainty remaining around the extent to which COVID-19 will impact the remainder of the financial year. So much more positiveness in this bit of commentary than what we saw in the previous half year. There's still a little bit of uncertainty in regards to COVID-19, but the important thing to note here is that bit of uncertainty, which was very similar to last year, was put at the end of this bit of commentary. Last year, it was the first thing they mentioned, this uncertainty with COVID-19. So even though it does remain there, it's not the major focus of this year's half-year report. The major focus is the growth in their areas that they have business in. So they even mentioned unprecedented growth in new offshore wind development. So the management of this company is looking bullish or feeling bullish. And that's actually a really good sign for the company moving forward. And this is one of the reasons why the market is getting excited about this company right now, is this potential growth in the company over the next few years. And that's why the share price is increasing. And we haven't seen that portrayed in the financials just yet. So there will be investors out there who need confirmation in the financials, but they might be too late at that point in time. The share price could triple, quadruple by then. So it's really important that you read what the market is thinking, you read the suggestions in the half-year reports, you just determine the mood of the management, those sort of things. Don't wait for the financials to be released. So the next set of financials to be released by MA Offshore will be the yearly report, which will be released in August. They might release a profit upgrade, and that would be a good sign moving forward for this company. That's all I have for this, the breakout video on MMA Offshore. I've got to remind myself, instead of looking at the microphone, look at the camera. So I've been looking at the microphone just subconsciously, just because it's in front of me. You can't actually see it. So this is one really good thing about Zoom virtual background. It's the microphone, which is right in front of me, right here. You can't see it. So that's a really good thing. But I've just been focusing on the microphone, not been focusing on the camera right there. Now, if you know a little bit more about this company, if you are bullish about this company or bearish, I'd love to hear your opinion, particularly if you are bearish. If you think this company has no future, I'd love to hear your opinions on why. Getting countering opinions, different opinions in yourself, is the best way we can grow as investors, improve as investors over the long term. So I'd love to hear your opinion on MMA Offshore. If you think I am insane for taking a position in this company just because the share price has started to increase, I'd love to hear your opinions as well. The last thing I should mention is I am not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.